Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is the Papa Joe Show where Papa Joe knows. I am your host, Papa Joe. I do appreciate you all being here today. Today, we're going to take a look at Fitch downgrading the U.S. long term debt rating. Yeah, that went from a triple A rating to an AA plus. I wonder why. I wonder why. Well, I have a couple articles here we're going to kind of cover. This first one we're going to take a look at is from CNBC. The Fitch ratings cut the United States long-term foreign currency issuer default rating to a AA plus from a AAA. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Probably because they're going to default on their debt. Just a hunch, because the dollar's useless the rest of the world. They can't just print dollars anymore. They actually have to find something that's a real asset to replace that with and send out to their creditors. Fun stuff. The agency had placed the country's rating on a negative watch in May this year, citing the debt ceiling fight in Washington. Debt ceiling fight. Well, they suspended the debt ceiling so they can have an unlimited credit card until January. So they've got, it's August now. That's a long time and a lot of money that they could print. It's a lot. Last time I looked at it, was like 32 trillion or 33 trillion or something like that. I don't know. It's probably way above that now. But anyhow, the reported debt limit political standoffs and last-minute resolutions have endured or eroded the confidence in fiscal management, Fitch said. U.S. stock futures are opening. This was from Tuesday. This is a couple hours. Well, this is from yesterday. They opened lower yesterday. I'm pretty sure they also opened lower this morning too, if I'm not mistaken. So anyhow, the downgrade of the U.S. long-term foreign currency is very interesting around. They expect fiscal deterioration over the next 3 years. The erosion of the government's and growing general debt burden. The reported debt limit political standoffs. I already read that. Sorry about that, y'all. Let's see here. In May, the agency placed the nation's AAA rating on negative watch, blaming the debt ceiling fight. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Fantastic. Well, that's not what's going on right now. I'm going to give you guys a couple different articles here in just a second that actually have information around who's pointing fingers, who and why. It's very, very, very interesting timing on things. Anyhow, President Joe Biden signed the debt ceiling bill on June 2nd, just days away from the X date on June 5th. Yeah, that's not going to be very, very good at all. Fitch is in Fitch's view. In Fitch's view, there has been a steady deterioration in standards of governance over the last 20 years, including on fiscal and debt matters. Notwithstanding the June bipartisan agreement to suspend the debt limit until January 2025. Oh, excuse me, not January this year, 2025. I didn't know that. The rating agencies pointed this out. Crazy stuff. Fitch also highlighted the rising general government deficit, which it anticipates a rise, or it will rise to 6.3% of gross domestic product in 2023 from 3.7 in 2022. That's not a little rise for what it's worth, folks. Not when it comes to that kind of stuff. Cuts to non-defense discretionary spending, 15% of total federal spending, is agreed in the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the bill that suspended the debt ceiling. This act offers only a modest improvement in midterm fiscal outlook. So basically, they're kind of going, yeah, we don't think you've got the money. We actually know you don't got the money, so we're cutting you down, so you're probably going to actually default. They went one notch down. Yeah, this isn't the first time the rating agency has downgraded the U.S. The U.S. Standard & Poor's cut the nation's credit rating to AA plus from AAA in 2011 after Washington managed to avoid a default. They keep playing chicken here, y'all. They're gonna default. You guys watch when BRICS goes live, and any day now. I don't know when they're scheduled to have the conversation. It might be later this month where they actually announce the asset-backed digital currency. I'm not entirely in favor of a government issuing a currency like that anyways, because if it's digital, it's still programmable money, even though it's backed by something. It'll have more purchasing power. That doesn't necessarily make it any better from a freedom standpoint for you and me and everybody else. But we'll see. We'll see. At the time, the agency highlighted political risk as part of its reasoning. In other words, the disagreements taking place. Well, let's see here. The Guardian posts an article here. Very interesting article. The Guardian: erosion of governance led to Fitch's downgrade in the U.S. credit rating. Guess what they're blaming it on? Erosion of governance. Guess what they're blaming it on? Takers, hands in live chat. Anybody? Trump. Trump's efforts to overturn the election and political polarization led agency to decision, says senior director. Really? So the senior director at Fitch is saying it's because of Trump's decision. And yet, according to CNBC, and y'all know I hate these mainstream articles, I'm pointing out their stupidity and I am telling you my opinion. That's realistically what's going on here. So senior director inside of Fitch is saying it's Trump. Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election and growing political polarization in the U.S. contributed to an erosion of governance that led to top credit rating agencies to downgrade U.S. debt, a senior director of the company said on Wednesday. Yeah, get that. That's interesting. Crazy, huh? They want to blame Trump. Trump's fault. His fault. They have nothing else to do except point him out. He was indicted again yesterday. Again. You'll see what's happening here. There's this rules for me, not for thee, and that's a political opponent, so we're gonna take him out. Y'all know that that's just giving people. This is just fueling fire. People are gonna vote for that dude no matter what. But I digress. Fitch cut its rating to U.S. debt on Tuesday, so yesterday. It was only the second time in the history. Yes, we've already covered this. Is a different article. Just keep in mind this is from the Guardian, right? Let's see here. Richard Francis, the senior director at Fitch Ratings, told Reuters that the agency based its decision in part on a perceived deterioration in U.S. governance, which gave it less confidence in the government's ability to address fiscal and debt issues. And apparently, he blamed Trump for that. That deterioration, as well as increased polarization in the country's political climate, was afflicted in the January 6th. They're saying insurrection. It's not. But anyways, which the agency highlighted in discussions with the Treasury. Fitch held meetings with the Treasury ahead of the downgrade. It was something that we highlighted because because it just is a reflection of the deterioration in governance. It is one of many. Y'all know that Trump's been going to be going after, or has gone after, pretty much the entire financial system in the United States because it is the root of all the issues in this country, realistically, the world. Tune into the Patreon on Friday. If you're not part of Patreon, it's $5. If you don't like it, leave. By doing that, it's a cup of coffee. Thank you. Those of you who are part of there and have stuck around throughout this whole time and just doing it just to support me, you guys mean the world to me. Thank you. I really appreciate it. By the way, if you like the content on the shows, go ahead and give me a subscribe. Let me know that you like it by giving me that subscribe. And let YouTube know. Smash those likes. Gonna be fun stuff. But anyways, on Friday, we're going to cover some interesting things around the financial system and how far back, historically speaking, things go and how entrenched this is, even from a religious perspective. Yep. Tune in on Friday. It's going to be a good one. If you're not part of the Patreon, you should get part of the Patreon. There is a Telegram channel we've set up. There's a community of people around that. Fantastic content and information that is shared in that community. And we will utilize that Telegram channel to post some of the either the books or the articles and things we put in there, and you're going to have access to it through there. So, but anyways, the reason I brought that up is because This right here, the banking systems, Trump's been going after them, right? The whole administration was doing that. There's a lot of stuff these banks don't like the fact that Trump's been doing some things, and I don't think they're gonna go after him with everything they got. Think about how and why he's been indicted so many times. These people don't have that. What's really cool about the most recent indictment, little side note here, that's a criminal court. Um, Trump now has subpoena power. Their lawyers have subpoena power. They can subpoena whoever they want into the courtroom and present any kind of information. And the fact that it has to do with election interference, it's going to be interesting. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. In another article about the Fitch downgradings in, I think this is, what is this? NBC News, White House. So Biden. The Biden campaign is pointing to Trump era problems, calling Fitch's decision a Trump downgrade. They have nothing else but to sit here and say, oh, that's Trump's fault, even though they downgraded it during Biden's watch, during this current Congress's watch, during this current Senate watch. The White House and Biden campaign. He's not really campaigning. He's not doing anything, actually. But anyhow, they are pointing fingers at the GOP over Thursday's Fitch credit downgrade. The first time in over a decade that the U.S. has faced a downgrade. Fitch Ratings Agency downgraded the U.S. debt. Yes, we know all this. We've already covered all that. Let's see. Where was I at? Richard Francis. We already covered him a little bit. Co-head of the America's Sovereign Ratings at Fitch told CNBC that there has been a steady deterioration in governance over the last couple of decades, highlighted in part by January 6th. The press secretary, Karen Jane Peary, whatever, stated that the White House strongly disagrees with the decision, oh boy, to downgrade, saying that it defies reality to the downgrade. That the U.S., at a moment when President Biden has delivered the strongest recovery of any major economy in the world. No. Y'all remember the last administration. Trump grew the economy massively. Then you had a black swan. And then it crashed. And then by the time he left office again, it was back up again. Right before it crashed. It literally went down and did that. Did it be? Within a few months' time. Sorry. The Biden administration, we have higher cost of groceries, fuel, everything costs more. All of it has to deal with the rising inflation in this country because they keep printing money and the debt keeps going up. You really think that debt's going anywhere? Guess where your tax dollars go? They go to pay the interest on the debt. Congress goes to the Federal Reserve and says, hey, we have this bill, we have this project, we need the funding for our military, we need the funding for this or that or the other. Federal Reserve says, okay, how much? Tells them how much. They say, okay, write a check for it, and then they are required to pay it back with interest immediately. Will never happen, and that's where you get the national debt. See, we're not in debt to whoever we're in debt to. We're in debt to a privately owned bank, Federal Reserve. Done a lot of shows on this before. Check those out. Well, most of them are on the Patreon. But anyways, reached very, very interesting stuff, guys. Very interesting stuff. On top of all of this happening this week, we often talk about housing on the show here because it ties into everything. Mortgage demand from home buyers drops. This is also out of CNBC. Mortgage demand for home buyers drops for the third straight week as interest rates rise. Y'all know that these interest rates going from 6.87 at the best you can get with the best credit score to a 6.93 at the best you can get with the best credit score. Yeah, that's like over a monthly basis, maybe $100 difference. And people are at that point to where they're just like, nope, we're done. I have seen very few homes that come across my list that actually have are for sale or whatever. Most of them are price drops. Very few of them are actually sold. The average contract interest rate for 30-year mortgage rate with conforming loan balances, $726,200 or less. Okay. Increased last week to 6.93 from the 8.76. I'm sorry, 6.87. See how my brain just literally just went backwards on that? That's crazy. Anyhow, mortgage applications to purchase a home fell 3% last week compared to the previous week. 1 week, 3%. In the world of mortgages and creation of mortgages, 3% is not good. Mortgage rates have been holding at high levels for several weeks now, and that is taking its toll on home buyers. Mortgage rates are probably going to go up into the double digits. But when that happens, the home prices will probably fall out of the sky. When they do, they will stay at double digits. They will then match. They will eventually drop. Prices of homes will eventually drop to match that double digit, whatever it ends up being. To where you have the mortgage not including the taxes, not including the insurance or anything like that, where the mortgage monthly payment is between $1,500 and $1,800 for the average person. Yeah, that's what's probably going to happen, or even lower, $1,200. Depends. All right, just to put some things into perspective, at that double-digit interest rate, so those home values are going to drop significantly. And if you buy at that point, not financial advice, even though your interest rate's high, interest rates will have to come down because the economy will completely collapse. The recession will take place. And when that happens, refinance. There's lots of ways to do this, folks. Lots of ways. Just trying to say, hey, here's some ideas, not financial advice or anything. But think about it. Education service purposes only here. You know what I mean? Anyhow, the Mortgage Broker Association reports the average contract interest rate for a 36-year. I'm sorry, I just read that. My apologies. My apologies there. That's with loans with 20% down too, by the way. The bond market is clearly bracing for an economically bullish data. Really? If those fears are realized, rates could be at 20-year highs by the end of this week. Well, we shall see. It is going to be crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyways, folks, it's time to cut the show for the day. Tune in Friday. Tune in for an amazing show in general, especially the Patreon. The Patreon is going to be a really good one this time. It is really good. Really amazing information. So it's just a suppressed history. We're going over all kinds of fun stuff. So cool. Daddy-O, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here today. As always, I really do appreciate it. And yes, sir, it really is a panic in DC. It really is. Busy Mountain, what's up, brother? Thanks for being part of the show. And Gloria, how are you today? Thanks for being here as usual. You guys and gals are fantastic. You're always here. I just want you guys to know. Really appreciate you guys. Stick around. It's going to be great. And you guys have an amazing, beautiful rest of the day. And y'all be blessed. Take it easy.